All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to a new set of videos Trevor and I are doing. We're starting a new series that we want to begin, that really began out of something that I noticed just a couple days ago as I was watching the Golden Globes. And so we want to talk about the art of conversation a little bit over these next few weeks. I don't know if you watched the Golden Globes, but the big news out of that wasn't any award. It was the speech given by Meryl Streep, where she kind of went after Trump quite harshly without really naming him. And if you're on Twitter over the next few days, you noticed his reaction, which was kind of to take a shot back at her. And Trevor and I were talking a little bit, and one of the things that we have talked through a little bit before was the idea that we've kind of lost the ability to have good conversations anymore. The world that we live in, and everybody recognizes this, especially our American society, is incredibly contentious, very segmented, very polarized. And so what you have often, as we see, is people getting up and using platforms to speak and to give their viewpoints, and yet really good conversations, the ability to discuss, to disagree, to even debate well, has really been lost. And so I had a question, which is, where have all the good conversations gone? And so we thought we'd take a few weeks to talk kind of about that, and maybe some ways that we can discuss better ways that we can have conversations, discuss, disagree. So that's what we're going to spend this series talking about. But really, Trevor, why can't we have good conversations anymore? I mean, what is the basis of this problem? How do we get to this place?
Well, I think a lot of it is just kind of the culture we live in, and we kind of live in this culture where Edgar Schein calls it a culture of tell. But what we do is we want to have the answers. We don't like to feel like we don't know anything, and like the worst thing you could possibly do is admit that you didn't know something. And we kind of have just this very competitive view on conversation in general. And so we don't see conversation as, hey, I want to get your thoughts on this and I want to hear a different perspective. We get it as, if we're going to have a conversation, there's going to be a clear winner and there's going to be a clear loser. And I mean, just look at the presidential debates. We watch that, and that is supposed to help us determine who is supposed to run our country. And we do it by who had the best slam against the other one, who, had the biggest points, or I mean, this last one, there wasn't a lot of points on actual issues, but we want to determine even like the most important decision in our country by who wins in the conversation and who loses in the conversation. I was on Facebook today, and it was like, I saw this thing, and it was, I don't even remember. There was an issue, and there was some actor's response, and it was like, his response silences all critics. And so we're constantly looking for what's the one-liner, what's the article, what's the thing that we can slam down to say, boom, I win, drop the mic and walk away.
Yeah, well, and even if you take the debates as kind of an example of how we communicate now, what I noticed is that they don't even answer the questions.
Yeah.
So I mean, often when they were asked a question, they go to their talking points, which is easy to look at them and slam politicians, but we see that every day in the ways we communicate. It's not that people are responding to one another. We're often just going to our own talking points. So the actual conversation doesn't even exist. It's just a lot of competing thoughts and noises that are actually out there and occurring.
And we've kind of completely lost the ability to stop and listen and take things for what they are, and actually say, hey, conversation is not a competition. Conversation is actually one of the best ways that we learn and grow as human beings.
Yeah. Well, and probably a lot of that has to do with the way our society is now. I mean, you have technology, the way education has come into it, social media. So this isn't just one factor that has changed this. This is a multitude of factors. My mother actually sent me something the other day that just was a quote from a book she was reading that talked about how our brains are being trained to change the channel so quickly. Whether it's actually changing the channel on television or just our attention spans being changed by the amount of visual and audio stimulus that are constantly surrounding us. And so that we have a lot of challenges here when we talk about conversation. This has not just been conversation fell off a cliff. It's been a slow moving away from the art of conversation. So we want to acknowledge that we do have challenges that in our society, that technology has changed the way we talk. We talk to one another in 140 characters at a time. It's just snippets. We broadcast our thoughts without really having the opportunity or taking the time to respond. So this is a multi-layered, kind of issue that we're talking about. And so over the next few weeks, we'll be talking about things like listening and how to disagree, the ways that we think. So hopefully that'll all kind of contribute, not to solve the problem, but at least pointing us in some direction of how we can actually start to have better conversations.
Yeah. And I love that you use the phrase, the art of conversation, because that's really kind of what we're hoping to do in this series of videos, is to kind of say, not give you 5 hard and fast rules for how to talk to people, but really understand that there is an art to it, and there are really some important things to do to overcome the hurdles that we experience in conversation today. So we hope that you'll join us over the next few weeks, and we're looking forward to it. As always, you can like us on Facebook or subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have anything that you'd like to hear us talk about or discuss, please leave us a comment. Grace and peace.
Bye, everybody.